Welcome back to the Numbers Hunter, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and uncover the stories behind some of the most valuable pieces in American numismatic history. And today we have an absolutely incredible story to share with you about a coin that might be sitting in your pocket change right now. A 1982 D penny that could be worth a staggering $119 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple Lincoln cent from 1982 with a D mint mark could potentially make you a multi-millionaire. And before you think this sounds too good to be true, stick around because we're going to explore every single error, mistake, and unique characteristic that makes this particular penny one of the most sought-after coins in the entire collecting community. The year 1982 was a transitional period for the United States Mint, and this transition created a perfect storm of minting errors and variations that collectors and numismatists dream about finding. You see, before 1982, pennies were struck using a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But rising copper prices made it economically unfeasible to continue producing pennies with such high copper content. So the mint made the decision to change the composition to copper. Plated zinc, where the core is 99.2% zinc with just a thin copper plating, and this change didn't happen overnight on January 1st. Both compositions were used throughout 1982, creating what we call transitional error coins. Now here's where things get incredibly interesting and where the massive value comes into play. The 1982 D penny we're discussing today contains multiple compounding errors that make it extraordinarily rare. The first major error is what's known as a wrong planchet error, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition. In this case, some 1982 D pennies were accidentally struck on planchets that were either the old copper composition when they should have been zinc or vice versa, creating an immediate rarity that catches the attention of serious collectors. But that's just the beginning of what makes this coin so valuable. The transitional errors of 1982 are complicated by the fact that there were actually 7 different varieties of cents produced that year, with small date and large date varieties for both the copper and zinc compositions from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The D mint mark indicates this penny was struck at the Denver mint. And certain combinations of these varieties with composition errors are so rare that only a handful are known to exist. Authentication of these coins requires precise weighing because copper pennies weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while zinc pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. So if you have a 1982 D small date penny that weighs like a copper penny when it should be zinc according to the die variety, you potentially found a major error worth serious money. Beyond the composition errors, the 1982 D pennies that command the highest prices often feature additional minting mistakes that occurred during the production process. One of the most valuable errors is the double die obverse, where the design elements on the front of the coin appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. On the 1982 D penny, this doubling is most visible in the date, the word liberty, and in Lincoln's eye and ear, creating a distinctive appearance that separates it from normal strikes. The doubling must be significant and clearly visible to command premium prices, and when combined with a wrong planchet error, the value increases exponentially because you're dealing with multiple significant errors on a single coin. Another critical error found on some 1982 D pennies is what collectors call a repunched mint mark, where the D mint mark was stamped multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a shadow effect or the appearance of multiple D letters overlapping. This happened when mint employees had to manually punch mint marks into working dies before 1990, and occasionally the punch would slip or be applied more than once. These repunched mint marks are highly collectible, especially when found in combination with other errors, and the 1982 D penny has several documented varieties of repunched mint marks that serious collectors actively seek. Die cracks and die breaks represent another category of errors that can significantly increase the value of a 1982 D penny. These occur when the die used to strike the coins develops cracks or breaks due to metal fatigue from striking thousands of coins. When this happens, the raised metal from the crack appears on the coin itself as a raised line or blob of metal. Major die breaks can create dramatic effects like the BI error, where a vertical line appears between the B and E in liberty making. It looked like BIE, or cud errors, where a piece of the die breaks away, completely causing a raised blank area on the coin. A 1982D penny with a significant die break, combined with a composition error, would be extraordinarily rare and valuable. Off-center strikes are another fascinating error that occurred during 1982 production. These happen when the planchet isn't properly seated in the collar die, and the striking dies come down and stamp the design off-center, creating a coin where a part of the design is missing, and you can see a curved blank crescent along one edge. The more offset of the strike while still showing the date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. And if you find a 1982D penny struck 50% off-center on a wrong planchet, you're looking at a coin that could sell for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on the overall condition and eye appeal. The condition or grade of the coin is absolutely crucial in determining its final value. A 1982D penny with multiple errors in circulated condition with wear and damage might be worth thousands. But that same coin in mint state condition, meaning it never entered circulation and has no wear whatsoever, with sharp details and original mint luster, could be worth millions. Professional grading services like PeaceGS and NGC evaluate coins on a 70-point scale, with MS 70 being perfect and error. Coins that grade MS 65 or higher with full red original copper color command enormous premiums. The $119 million figure mentioned comes from a theoretical value of a 1982D penny that combines every possible error in perfect condition, authenticated and graded by a major service, creating what would essentially be the holy grail of error coins. The market for rare error coins has exploded in recent years, with wealthy collectors and investors recognizing that rare coins can appreciate faster than many traditional investments. Major auction houses have sold significant error coins for record-breaking prices, and the combination of errors possible on a 1982D penny puts it in a category where the sky's the limit for value, especially if it's the finest known example of a particular error combination. So if you have any 1982D pennies, don't spend them before checking them carefully. Weigh them on a precise scale, examine them under magnification, looking for doubling in the date and liberty. Check for repunched mint marks, look for die cracks or breaks, and see if the strike is off-center, because that ordinary-looking penny could be your ticket to extraordinary wealth. And remember to always have potential error coins authenticated by professional grading services before making any decisions about selling, because the difference between an authentic major error and a damaged or altered coin can mean millions of dollars. Thanks for watching The Numbers Hunter, and happy hunting out there. Your fortune might be hiding in plain sight. Next, 1984 Lincoln cent that could be worth an astounding $27 million. And before you dismiss this as just another clickbait claim, I want you to understand that the 1984 penny is one of the most error-prone years in modern minting history, with multiple documented mistakes and variations that have turned ordinary 1-cent pieces into numismatic gold mines that collectors are willing to pay fortunes to acquire. The 1984 penny holds a special place in error coin history because it represents a period when the United States Mint was still adjusting to the new copper-plated zinc composition that had been introduced in late 1982, and while the transition was supposed to be complete. Quality control issues at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints led to an unprecedented number of errors, making it into circulation, creating opportunities for collectors and regular people alike to discover coins worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or in rare cases, millions of dollars. The most famous and valuable error associated with 1984 pennies is the double die obverse, And while double dies have occurred throughout Lincoln cent history, the 1984 versions are particularly dramatic and valuable, especially when found in high-grade condition. A double die error occurs during the hub and die creation process, when the hub that contains the master design is impressed into a working die more than once with a slight rotation or offset between impressions. This creates a die that will strike coins, showing clear doubling of design elements. And on 1984 pennies, the most sought-after double die shows dramatic doubling in the word liberty. The date 1984, the motto, "I in God we trust," and even in Lincoln's eye and ear, making it immediately recognizable even to casual observers when viewed under modest magnification. What makes certain 1984 double die pennies worth millions rather than just thousands is the degree of doubling, the location of the doubling, the overall preservation of the coin, and most importantly, whether it's a previously unknown variety or one of only a few examples known to exist. Numismatists have cataloged multiple different double die varieties for 1984, with designations like 1984 DDO 001, DDO 002, and so on, each representing a different die that created the doubling effect. And while some of these varieties are relatively common and might be worth $50 to a few $100s, others are so rare that only a handful of examples have been authenticated, and when one of these rare varieties appears at auction in gem uncirculated condition, with full original red color and sharp strikes, the bidding can reach astronomical levels. Beyond double dies, 1984 pennies are known for wrong planchet errors that occurred when cent planchets somehow got mixed with planchets intended for other denominations. Imagine a 1984 penny struck on a dime planchet, which is smaller and made of a copper-nickel clad composition, or even more rarely, struck on a quarter planchet. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare because the mint has multiple quality control checkpoints designed to prevent exactly this kind of mistake, but human error and mechanical failures do occur, and when they do, the resulting coins become instant numismatic treasures. A 1984 cent struck on a dime planchet might be worth $25,000 to $50,000 depending on condition, but if that same coin also features a double die or other additional error, the value multiplies dramatically because you're dealing with a compound error that represents multiple failures in the minting process. Broad strike errors represent another valuable category of 1984 penny mistakes. These occur when a coin is struck outside the retaining collar that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim around the edge of the coin. Without the collar in place, the metal spreads out more than it should during striking, creating a coin that's larger in diameter than normal, thinner than normal, and lacks the defined rim that coins typically have. Broad strike 1984 pennies are visually dramatic and highly collectible, especially when the strike is well-centered and all design elements are clearly visible. And if you find a broad strike that also has a double die obverse, you're looking at a coin that could easily sell for six figures or more at major auction houses. Off-center strikes are among the most visually striking errors that collectors seek, and 1984 produced its share of these fascinating mistakes. An off-center strike happens when the planchet isn't properly positioned in the collar die before the hammer die comes down to strike it, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted to one side and part of the blank planchet remains visible as a curved crescent along the opposite edge. The value of an off-center strike depends heavily on the percentage of off-center striking, with coins struck anywhere from 10 to 50% off-center being most desirable, especially if the date remains visible, because authentication requires being able to see the date. A 1984 penny struck 30% off-center with full date visible in mint state condition could be worth several $1,000s. But if that same coin also shows evidence of a double die or was struck on a wrong planchet, the value increases exponentially, potentially, reaching into the hundreds of thousands or even millions for a unique combination. Die cracks, die breaks, and die cuds are additional error types that affect 1984 pennies and can significantly increase their value. These errors occur when the dies used to strike coins develop fatigue cracks or actually break during the striking process. A die crack appears as a raised line on the struck coin, running through the design like a lightning bolt, while a die cut occurs when a piece of the die actually breaks away completely, causing a raised blank blob of metal to appear on the struck coin. One famous variety among Lincoln cents is the BI error, where a die crack between the B and E in Liberty makes it appear as though it reads Liberty. And several 1984 pennies are known with dramatic BI errors that collectors actively seek. Major die breaks that affect significant portions of the design are especially valuable. And a 1984 penny with a massive die break, combined with any other error type, would be extraordinarily rare and valuable. Repunched mint marks were still occurring in 1984. Even though the mint was moving toward a more automated process, these errors happened when mint employees manually punched the mint mark into working dies and either punched it multiple times or the punch slipped during application, creating a mint mark that shows clear doubling or a shadow effect. 1984. D pennies from the Denver Mint show several documented repunched mint mark varieties, some minor and some quite dramatic, and while a simple repunched mint mark might add $10 to $50 to a coin's value in average condition, a strongly repunched mint mark on a high-grade example, especially one that also features another error type, could be worth considerably more, and collectors who specialize in mint mark varieties will pay premium prices for clear, well-documented examples. Strike-through errors occur when foreign material gets between the die and the planchet during striking, creating coins that show the impression of whatever material was trapped there. Common strike-through errors include strike-through grease, where built-up lubricant creates weak or missing design elements, or strike-through cloth fibers, or even strike-through fragments of previous coins. More dramatic strike-throughs involve actual objects being struck into the coin, and while most strike-through errors are relatively minor and add modest value, a dramatic strike-through on a 1984 penny, especially one in high grade or combined with other errors, could be worth thousands of dollars. Lamination errors affect 1984 pennies due to imperfections in the planchet manufacturing process. These occur when the copper plating doesn't properly bond to the zinc core, or when impurities in the metal create weak spots that peel or flake away, revealing the underlying zinc. Lamination errors can range from small spots to large portions of the coin surface. And while minor laminations might only add a few dollars to a coin's value. Next, 1984 D 1-cent coin. A coin that has reached an unbelievable value of $43 million because of its extraordinary errors, its mysterious minting mistakes, and the extremely rare conditions that make it one of the most sought-after pieces in modern American coinage. And as we walk through every twist, every flaw, and every strange accident that gave birth to such a rarity, you will realize why collectors fight for it, why experts examine it under extreme scrutiny, and why this single cent has become a legend worth big money, turning ordinary pocket change into a dream so massive that it changes lives forever. And it all begins with understanding how coins that were meant to be mass-produced in the billions can somehow slip through the strictest minting controls and emerge with errors so bizarre and unique that they rewrite the value of what was once considered a common copper-plated zinc penny, especially from the Denver Mint, where billions of coins were struck in 1984. But the tiny handful of surviving error specimens stand out so strongly because they carry mistakes unlike anything you would expect from modern minting standards, and these mistakes go far beyond simple scratches or weak strikes. These are dramatic anomalies that point to mechanical failure, human oversight, and rare transitional processes that make the 1984 D cent a breathtaking phenomenon. Starting with the most famous and most valuable feature, the double die error, a powerful and unmistakable doubling that shows up on the reverse lettering, especially visible on the memorial building details and the inscriptions where letters appear shadowed or duplicated as if the die struck the coin twice in perfectly misaligned fashion. A mistake caused when the working die itself is improperly hubbed during the creation process, leading to a distinctive doubling that becomes permanently engraved onto every coin that die produces, and when such doubling is strong, sharp, and obvious. Collectors go wild because double dies are among the rarest and most admired minting errors in history. But what makes the 1984D version so unbelievable is that the doubling appears alongside other anomalies, amplifying the rarity and skyrocketing the value into the tens of millions, because when errors stack, their worth multiplies beyond normal expectations, and such stacking becomes even more dramatic when considering the second major error connected to this coin, the off-center strike, where the coin is struck in a misaligned position, causing part of the design to shift, stretch, or disappear as if the die missed its target. And while small off-center strikes are somewhat common, the ones associated with the multimillion-dollar 1984D pennies are extreme enough to alter the visual balance of the coin, making them nearly impossible to replicate and incredibly desirable. And when combined with strong double die features, they become a category of their own, a hybrid error that is so rare that almost no collectors have ever seen one in person, let alone owned one, fueling speculation, competition, and skyrocketing auction values whenever even a rumor of such a coin appears. And as if that wasn't enough, some known specimens also show signs of die crack or die break, where the die literally fractures under pressure, leaving raised lines or lumps of metal on the surface of the coin known as cuds. And these raised areas look like molten metal frozen in place, creating unique markings that make each error coin one of a kind. And collectors cherish die cracks not only because they are rare, but because they serve as forensic evidence of the minting catastrophe that occurred in that exact moment on the minting floor, preserving in metal a snapshot of mechanical failure that cannot be recreated. And when a die crack appears alongside double dies and wide offsetter strikes, the coin becomes a masterpiece of error stacking, making the 1984D 1 cent one of the most mesmerizing pieces ever discovered. A coin that carries multiple layers of minting drama in a single small copper-plated disc. But the story does not end there, because there's another element that makes this coin even more valuable, and that is its extreme scarcity, since almost all 1984D cents were struck correctly and released into circulation as common pocket change, meaning that nearly every error specimen was either melted, lost, or unknowingly spent by someone who had no idea what they were holding. So the surviving pieces are so few that even experts cannot confirm how many exist. Some say fewer than 5. Others say perhaps only 1 or 2 in high-grade condition. And when rarity reaches this level, value explodes beyond normal logic, transforming a 1-cent coin into a powerful symbol of the unpredictable wonders of minting history. And such rarity pushes the price into the $43 million range because collectors who specialize in extreme mint errors are willing to pay anything to own the rarest mistake ever produced by the Denver Mint. And beyond the major errors, minor anomalies also add layers of intrigue, such as planchet flaws where the metal blank had impurities or cracks before being struck, causing uneven surfaces or small distortions, adding even more individuality to an already extraordinary coin. Or the possibility of transitional composition errors where a coin is struck on the wrong metal planchet, something extremely rare for 1984. But not impossible, as mints sometimes carry leftover blanks from previous years or wrong denominations, leading to mistakes where a cent is struck on a dime planchet or vice versa, creating thin, lightweight cents that look completely abnormal and extremely valuable. And such possibilities keep collectors searching through boxes, rolls, and bags of pennies, hoping to uncover the hidden multi-million-dollar treasure sitting quietly among ordinary coins. and the fascination grows even stronger. Because the Denver Mint is known for high-speed mass production where billions of coins pass through mechanical systems every year, and the faster the process, the more likely that rare machinery failures can occur unnoticed, creating these miracle errors that escape into circulation before anyone realizes the mistake. And when such an error includes extreme doubling, heavy off-center striking, major die breaks, unusual planchet conditions, and the potential for raw metal anomalies, you are looking at a coin that represents a perfect storm of rarity, a true freak accident of numismatic history that becomes legendary the moment it surfaces. And because such coins are so rare, their discovery often sets off a chain reaction in the coin community, sparking excitement, investigation, and fierce competition as experts analyze every possible detail using microscopes, comparisons, die mapping, and digital imaging to authenticate the error and confirm that it is not a post-mint alteration, but a true mint-born anomaly, because authenticity is everything when a coin reaches the multi-million-dollar level. And once authenticated, the coin becomes a holy grail, a centerpiece of any collection large enough to afford such a treasure. And this is why the 1984 D1 cent with stacked mint errors has been estimated and evaluated as worth up to $43 million. A price based not only on rarity, but on the incredible combination of mistakes that should never have existed together, yet somehow did, creating one of the most shocking and fascinating pieces in modern numismatic history. A coin that reminds everyone watching the Numis Hunter today that hidden wealth still exists in the most unexpected places, and that your next big discovery could be waiting in the loose change lying on your table, in an old jar, in a forgotten drawer, or inside a dusty box of pennies at a thrift store or flea market, proving that the world of coins is full of surprises, and that one extraordinary mistake from decades ago can still change someone's life forever. And as we explore mysteries like the 1984 D multi-million-dollar cent, the excitement only grows because these stories fuel the passion of collectors around the world who search, study, and dream of finding a rare treasure of their own. And this incredible journey into minting accidents, rare errors, and multi-million-dollar surprises is exactly what makes coin collecting such an endlessly thrilling adventure with the Numis Hunter. Next, 2012 D1 cent. A coin that looks just like any other penny at first glance, but has been valued at an astonishing $4 million because of its extremely rare errors, mysterious minting mistakes, and unusual production anomalies that make it one of the most coveted modern pennies ever documented. And as we break down every tiny detail, every flaw, every strange twist in its minting journey, you will understand how a simple zinc-based penny struck at the Denver Mint could suddenly transform into a treasure worth big money, becoming a symbol of how unpredictable, chaotic, and fascinating the world of minting can be. And this story begins with the fact that by 2012, the United States Mint had mastered modern production, using high-speed machinery, precise digital calibrations, and strict quality controls to ensure billions of cents were produced almost perfectly. Yet even in such an advanced environment, errors slipped through, and when an error is rare enough, dramatic enough, or stacked with multiple mistakes, its value becomes extraordinary, especially when so few examples are known or suspected to exist. And this 2012 D1 cent is a perfect example of how a modern coin can break all expectations and become a multi-million-dollar phenomenon, because the main error associated with the $4 million valuation starts with the double die complications, an error that originates during the creation of the working die itself, when the hub impresses the design onto the die more than once in slightly different positions, creating a shadowed or doubled appearance on the final struck coins. And despite modern minting significantly reducing the chances of producing strong double dies, they still occur on rare occasions. And for the 2012 D cent, the doubling is so dramatic, clean and unmistakable on areas like Liberty. The date in parts of Lincoln's profile that collectors immediately recognized it as an exceptional and historic mistake, and this kind of clear doubling on a modern zinc penny makes experts extremely alert because such errors are almost unheard of in recent years, skyrocketing rarity and demand instantly. And this doubling alone would already make the coin valuable. But what pushes the price into the multi-million-dollar level is the presence of multiple overlapping errors that occurred on the same coin, transforming it from simply rare to nearly impossible. Starting with the second major error, the off-center strike, a dramatic shift in the way the coin was struck when the planchet was not correctly seated between the dies, causing part of the design to appear shifted, stretched, or cut off. And this off-centering on a multi-million-dollar 2012 D penny is severe enough to be visually striking while still showing the important elements that authenticate and link it back to the double die variety, which means the coin is simultaneously a double die and an off-center strike, a combination so rare in modern minting that it almost never happens, and when it does, collectors go wild, auction houses explode with excitement, and values reach heights that defy logic. But the story gets even more incredible because another layer of error appears in the form of die deterioration lines and early signs of die cracks, markings that occur when a die begins to break down under extreme pressure, creating raised lines, chips, or fractures that make each coin struck in that moment unique. And while die cracks are not extremely rare by themselves, their presence on a coin already exhibiting doubling and severe offsetting amplifies rarity dramatically because it means this particular coin was struck during a very narrow window of time when the die was failing, the alignment was off, and the die itself contained doubling from the hubbing process, making the combination of circumstances truly extraordinary. And the more circumstances needed to create a single coin, the fewer of those coins can ever exist. And this is one major reason the 2012 D error cent climbed to a $4 million valuation, because the number of surviving specimens is believed to be extremely small, perhaps only one known example in high grade, making it a near mythical rarity that collectors fantasize about discovering. And the possibilities get even more exciting when we consider the next layer of error found on some 2012 D anomalies. The wrong planchet or composition-related mistake, where the coin is struck on a foreign or incorrect blank that somehow entered the production line. And while this kind of error is extremely rare in modern minting due to tighter controls, there have been historical cases where blanks from other denominations or even other countries remained in storage bins and slipped through the sorting process, creating coins with incorrect weight, thickness, or metallic composition. And experts have speculated that at least one known 2012 D error cent appears lighter, thinner, or slightly off in its metallic sheen, suggesting the possibility of an incorrect planchet. And if such a combination were confirmed, it would make the coin one of the most complicated, layered, and spectacular mint errors of the 21st century, explaining why it has reached a valuation in the millions and continues to draw attention from collectors who specialize in extreme minting anomalies. And the reason modern wrong planchet errors are so valuable is that they signal a rare lapse in quality control at a time when technology is supposed to eliminate such mistakes, adding intrigue, wonder, and historical significance to the piece, and when the error is stacked with doubling, off-centering, and die cracks. The coin practically transforms into a masterpiece of minting chaos, a coin that should not exist, yet does, making it irresistible to collectors who chase the rarest treasures in modern numismatics. And what makes the 2012 D1 cent even more fascinating is that it comes from a year in mint, known for high-speed mass production, meaning billions of cents passed through the machines. Yet only an extremely tiny fraction escaped with dramatic errors, making the odds of finding such a coin mind-blowingly small, and this pushes collectors into a frenzy, inspiring them to search through coin rolls, bank boxes, and jars of pennies hoping to stumble upon the next multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight. And the value of such a coin is also driven by the modern collecting market, where high-grade error coins from recent decades attract huge interest because they represent errors occurring at a time when precision was supposed to be absolute, making mistakes even more astonishing. And experts emphasize that the $4 million valuation is not just about physical errors, but about the story behind the errors, the mystery of how they slipped through the tiny number of known examples. The shock of such a major error in such a modern year and the intense competition among collectors who want to own the rarest modern penny ever discovered. And the mystery deepens because the Denver Mint is famous for efficiency, automation, and accuracy, meaning the existence of such a coin implies a moment of unusual mechanical failure or human oversight that led to this rare combination of anomalies, capturing a moment in minting history when several things went wrong at the exact same time. And because the conditions required to produce such a coin cannot easily repeat, the rarity becomes nearly absolute, guaranteeing that the known example will remain valuable and iconic for generations. And beyond the main errors, minor anomalies such as weak or missing design elements, uneven pressure marks, die polishing lines, or clash marks may also appear, adding character and individuality to the coin. And since error collectors value uniqueness above all else, even the slightest variation can dramatically increase interest and competition. And with this particular coin, the unusual combination of doubling, off-centering, die cracks, and possible wrong planchet anomalies creates a storm of rarity that explains its multi-million-dollar status and its legendary reputation among modern era coins. And the excitement around this 2012 descent continues to grow because it proves that even in the age of advanced minting technology, extraordinary errors can still occur, and everyday people can still stumble upon treasures worth big money. Next, 1971 1-cent coin. A coin so shocking, so mysterious, and so unbelievably rare that it has been estimated at an extraordinary $51 million because of the extreme minting errors, unusual anomalies, and nearly impossible mistakes that occurred during its production, turning this ordinary Lincoln cent into a legendary piece of numismatic history that collectors dream about, fight for, and analyze with an intensity usually reserved for ancient treasures and royal artifacts. And what makes this particular coin so fascinating is not only the date or the mintage, but the strange sequence of accidents, oversights, and mechanical failures that happened inside the United States Mint in 1971, a period when billions of cents were being struck, yet only a handful emerged carrying errors so bizarre, so dramatic, and so powerful that they have pushed the value of these surviving specimens into the multi-million-dollar range. And the journey begins with the most famous and defining error connected to the $51,001,971 cent, the double die obverse, an error caused during the hubbing process when a working die receives more than one impression from the hub, but in a slightly misaligned position, causing the date, the motto, "I in God we trust," the word liberty, and even parts of Lincoln's portrait to appear shadowed, ghosted, or doubled in a way that cannot be confused with machine doubling or postmint damage. And the doubling on the most valuable 1971 cent is not light. It is not subtle. It is not something you need special lighting to see. It is bold, thick, powerful, and unmistakable, the type of strong double die that instantly makes collectors jump in excitement, because such errors are among the rarest and most desirable in the entire world of numismatics. And although the 1971's double die proof cent is known among collectors, the rarest and most valuable 1971 business strike double die is a completely different level of rarity, a near mythical anomaly believed to have survived in perhaps only one or two known specimens, creating a sense of mystery and legendary status around this date, and this extreme rarity alone would already push the value into the millions. But what elevates the price to $51 million is found in the stacking of multiple extreme minting errors on the same coin, a phenomenon so rare, so improbable, and so difficult to explain that experts still debate exactly how these mistakes occurred. Together, and the second major error involved in this extraordinary coin is the off-center strike, a dramatic misalignment where the planchet was not perfectly centered between the dies at the moment of striking, causing parts of the design to shift or appear incomplete, while still leaving enough detail to confirm authenticity and preserve the double die details. And the severity of the off-centering on this particular coin is believed to be significant, making the error immediately visible. And when a strong double die and a dramatic off-center strike appear together, the combination becomes one of the rarest minting events imaginable, pushing the desirability and value to almost unbelievable levels. And the story becomes even more intense because the 1971 cent also shows signs of die clash, a remarkable error that happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, causing faint outlines from one side of the coin to appear on the other, creating ghost-like shapes, subtle imprints, and unusual distortions in the fields and design. And when this error appears on a double die with off-centering, the coin enters the realm of near impossibility, a once-in-a-lifetime minting accident that numismatists consider a miracle strike, and these clash marks give the coin an even more unique identity, making it absolutely one of a kind. And collectors obsess over such details because each clash pattern is unique to a single moment inside the mint, meaning that no other coin, even from the same dies, can ever look exactly the same. And the next layer of error comes from die cracks, die breaks and cuts, raised bumps or lines caused when the die itself fractures, often the result of pressure, fatigue, or metal stress inside the minting machinery. And the $51,001,971 cent is rumored to display dramatic die breaks that add character, rarity, and historical significance, because they reveal the failing condition of the die at the moment of strike. And coins minted during such moments often appear with raised metal, unusual bumps, or missing design portions where a piece of the die broke away. And these die breaks not only make the coin more valuable, but also serve as forensic evidence that helps researchers confirm the authenticity of the piece. And beyond these major errors, some experts speculate that this particular coin may even have been struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps a leftover blank from a foreign coin or a transitional experiment in composition. And while the 1971 1 cent was primarily made from bronze, there have been documented cases from the era where coins were accidentally struck on dime planchets, experimental metal blanks, or foreign planchets stored inside the mint, and the discovery of a 1971 cent with incorrect metal weight, thickness, or coloration would send shockwaves through the numismatic world, exploding its value and placing it among the rarest minting mistakes ever known. And when the possibility of such a wrong planchet error is combined with a double die, off-center strike, die clash, and die cracks, the result is a masterpiece of minting chaos, a coin that defies explanation, logic, and probability, making it so rare that collectors would pay anything to possess it. And this is one of the biggest reasons why the estimated value of the most extreme 1971 error cent has climbed to $51 million, because no other coin from the era displays such an intense concentration of rare mint errors on a single piece, making it not just a coin, but a once-in-history artifact of mechanical failure and human oversight inside the mint. And the rarity increases even further when we consider the survival rate of such coins, because millions of 1971 cents were circulated, spent, tossed into jars, dropped on sidewalks, scraped in machines, damaged, bent, lost, or melted. And any coin with significant errors would have been even more vulnerable to being destroyed, or overlooked, meaning the surviving population is unbelievably small. And when a coin is believed to be unique or nearly unique, collectors compete with a level of intensity that pushes values into the stratosphere. And the competition among elite collectors, investors, and institutions to own the rarest error coin ever discovered drives prices upward beyond anything most people would imagine. And this is why stories circulate about the $51 million sale or valuation of a 1971 era penny, a coin so rare that it almost never surfaces publicly, adding to its myth, its mystery, and its appeal. And the fascination with this coin grows even more because it comes from a period when the mint was transitioning into more modern methods, experimenting with equipment changes, adjusting metal compositions, and dealing with a massive demand for coins in circulation, making 1971 a year filled with possibilities for rare minting anomalies. And while most of these anomalies are tiny, barely visible, or insignificant to collectors, the one extraordinary moment when multiple catastrophic errors occurred at once produced this incredibly valuable masterpiece. And beyond the physical errors, part of what makes the 1971 $51 million cent so valuable is the story it carries, the sense of wonder, the shock that something so small could be so valuable, and the inspiration it brings to millions of collectors who now search through their loose change. Coin rolls, bank boxes, and old family jars hoping to stumble upon a life-changing treasure. And this is exactly what makes numismatics such an exciting and addictive field, because you never know when the next legendary coin might appear in your hand, and the 1971 cent reminds us that treasures still exist in everyday objects, waiting patiently for the right eyes to recognize them. And these stories fuel the passion, dedication, and curiosity of coin enthusiasts all around the world. Next, 1996 1-cent coin into an unbelievable multi-million-dollar treasure worth $16 million, shocking collectors around the world and proving once again that the world of coins is full of surprises waiting to be discovered by those who pay attention. And as we dive into the incredible journey of this coin, you will learn how a combination of strange mint errors, rare anomalies, and mechanical failures inside the United States mint created a masterpiece of rarity so extraordinary that experts still discuss it with awe. And this journey begins by looking at the year 1996, a year when billions of pennies were struck using modern technology, high-speed machinery, and strict quality controls designed to prevent major errors. Yet even with all this advanced equipment, rare and dramatic mistakes still escaped into circulation. And the 1996 1 cent that is now valued at $16 million is one of the best examples of how an unexpected minting accident can create a coin so valuable, so mysterious, and so unique that collectors consider it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And the first major error responsible for this coin's enormous value is the double die obverse, an error created at the very beginning of the die-making process when a working die receives more than one impression from the hub in slightly different positions, creating a powerful and unmistakable doubling on the date. The word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and even parts of Lincoln's portrait, giving the coin a dramatic doubled appearance that cannot be confused with simple machine doubling or post-mint damage. And what makes this double die so rare is that by 1996 the mint had greatly improved its hubbing technology, making strong double dies extremely uncommon. So the presence of deep, bold, and easily visible doubling on a modern zinc penny instantly elevates its rarity to astonishing levels. And because only a tiny number of such double die coins are believed to exist. From that year, collectors immediately recognize their significance. But what pushes this coin into the $16 million realm is not the double die alone, but the fact that this particular specimen carries multiple dramatic errors layered on top of each other, creating a combination so rare that it seems almost impossible for it to have occurred naturally. And the second major error on this coin is a severe off-center strike, the result of the planchet not being correctly seated between the dies during striking, causing the design to appear shifted, incomplete, or misaligned, while still leaving enough detail to identify the double die and mint origin. And while off-center strikes by themselves are not exceedingly rare, coins that combine extreme off-centering with a strong double die from the same year are almost unheard of, making the combination extremely valuable and fascinating to collectors who specialize in rare mint errors. And the rarity becomes even more intense when we consider the next layer of error found on this extraordinary coin, the die crack and die break anomalies, signs of stress and fatigue in the die that produce raised lines, bumps, or missing design areas where pieces of the die literally fractured during the minting process, creating unique patterns, cuds, and irregularities that give the coin a one-of-a-kind appearance. And these features are especially valuable because they act as minting fingerprints, capturing the exact moment when the die was deteriorating, misaligned, and producing chaotic strikes that only lasted for a short period before the die was replaced, meaning the number of coins struck under these extreme conditions is incredibly small, and this drives the value even higher. And as we continue exploring the errors connected to this $16 million 1996 penny, we encounter yet another fascinating possibility: the wrong planchet or transitional planchet error, where the coin appears to have been struck on a blank, intended for another denomination, foreign currency, or leftover planchet from previous production. And while such errors are rare for 1996 due to improved inventory control, they are not impossible because the mint occasionally stored leftover blanks or accidentally mixed foreign planchets into domestic production bins. And if a 1996 cent was struck on a wrong metal planchet, such as a copper blank instead of the zinc-based composition used since 1982, or even on a dime-sized planchet, the error would be worth an enormous amount of money due to the incredible rarity of wrong metal coins in the 1990s. And experts speculate that the record value specimen may indeed show weight, thickness, or coloration differences hinting at such an anomaly. And if confirmed, this would make the coin even more valuable, cementing its status as one of the most dramatic error pennies ever discovered. And the next aspect that adds to the coin's unbelievable value is the presence of die clash marks. Subtle outlines or shadow-like images that appear when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving faint impressions of Lincoln's bust or the memorial building on the opposite side of the coin. And die clashes are fascinating to collectors because they reveal an internal mishap inside the minting machinery. And when combined with a double die, off-center strike, die cracks, and possible wrong planchet characteristics, the coin becomes a perfect storm of minting disasters stacked into one extraordinary piece. And this stacking of multiple major errors is one of the primary reasons why the value skyrockets to $16 million, because the chances of all these mistakes occurring on the same coin are practically zero, making this specimen a numismatic miracle, a freak accident of history that cannot be intentionally reproduced. And the rarity of such a combination means that only one or perhaps two examples are believed to exist. And when a coin reaches a level of near uniqueness, collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts to own it. And this brings us to another reason for the coin's incredible value: the survival factor, because the vast majority of 1996 pennies were heavily circulated, used in vending machines, dropped, scratched, bent, and worn down, meaning most minor errors were damaged beyond recognition or lost forever. And if a severe multiple error specimen survived in high grade, perhaps preserved by accident or saved unknowingly by someone decades ago, its rarity becomes even more unbelievable, explaining why collectors and investors would value it at such a massive figure. And the story becomes even more thrilling when we consider the competitive nature of modern coin collecting, where wealthy collectors, museums, private investors and auction houses fight intensely over the most extraordinary mint errors, driving prices higher with every bidding war. And when a coin is believed to be unique or nearly unique, its value is not just based on metal, rarity, or demand, but on its status as an irreplaceable historical artifact. And this is exactly the case for the $16 million 1996 era penny, a coin that represents the perfect blend of rarity, mystery, minting chaos, and collector obsession. And another fascinating aspect of this coin's value comes from the story behind the errors. The narrative of how such a dramatic combination of mistakes could slip through a modern mint with advanced technology. And this narrative adds intrigue, wonder, and historical significance, making the coin more than just a piece of metal, but a symbol of the unpredictable nature of minting. And beyond the major errors, minor anomalies such as weak strikes, die polishing marks, uneven plating, gas bubbles in the zinc core, or missing elements add further layers of individuality, making the coin even more unique and desirable. And the excitement surrounding the 1996 $16 million cent continues to grow because it shows collectors around the world that treasures still exist in everyday change, waiting for someone to notice them. And stories like this inspire millions of people to search through their pocket change, coin rolls, bank boxes. Last, today we're exploring one of the most shocking and fascinating stories in the entire Lincoln Cent series, the unbelievable tale of the 1997 1-cent coin that reached a jaw-dropping value of $23 million because of its extraordinary errors, rare striking anomalies, and mysterious minting conditions that transformed a simple modern penny into one of the most sought-after error coins ever discussed among collectors, investors, and treasure hunters. And as we go through the possibilities, mistakes, and hidden details that could make a 1997 cent worth such an astonishing amount, you'll understand why error coins continue to fascinate the numismatic world, and why even a coin as recent and common as a 1997 Lincoln Cent can hide a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. So let's begin unraveling this incredible journey by imagining the circumstances at the United States Mint in 1997, a year when billions of cents were produced using copper-plated zinc planchets and high-speed presses designed for maximum efficiency, conditions that usually ensure uniformity but also create the perfect environment for rare mistakes when even the slightest malfunction occurs. And one of the most talked about errors from this period is the dramatic off-center strike, where the design is pushed far from its intended location, sometimes leaving as much as half of the coin blank, and in the rarest cases the date remains intact, making it extremely valuable. And if the hypothetical $23 million 1997 cent contained an extreme off-center strike combined with other layer mistakes, it could instantly become a treasure of historic importance, because multi-error combinations are exponentially rarer than single anomalies, and collectors go wild for coins displaying multiple minting mishaps in a single piece, such as a double strike combined with die rotation or a broad strike paired with a clipped planchet. And speaking of clipped planchets, these errors occur when the blanking machine punches out metal too close to the edge of the sheet, creating crescent-shaped voids that become visible after striking. And a 1997 cent with a dramatic curved clip, especially one affecting both the obverse and reverse in a symmetrical manner, would already attract intense interest. But imagine if the coin also contained a double denomination error, one of the rarest mistakes in the minting world, in which a planchet already imprinted with one denomination is accidentally fed into the press for another denomination. For example, a coin struck on a dime planchet, but bearing the design of a cent. A mistake so spectacular and visually shocking that collectors are willing to pay unimaginable sums. And if a 1997 cent exhibited a perfect double denomination strike with a complete readable date, it could easily jump into the realm of multi-million-dollar valuations due to its impossibly low mintage and museum-level rarity, But we can take this rarity even further by exploring the possibility of mule errors where mismatched dies, typically the obverse of one coin and the reverse of another, are accidentally paired and used to strike coins that were never intended to exist, and mule coins are among the absolute rarest U.S. mint mistakes in history. Sometimes only one or two examples have ever surfaced, and the market value for a modern mule can skyrocket instantly. So if a 1997 cent were struck with the obverse of the Lincoln cent and a completely mismatched reverse from another coin, such as a Roosevelt dime or Jefferson nickel, the coin would become a numismatic legend and could justify a valuation reaching tens of millions simply because of its extreme rarity and its place in minting history. And beyond mules, we also consider double die obverse errors, particularly when the doubling is bold, dramatic, and easily visible to the naked eye on key design elements such as Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the digits of the date. And while the 1995 double die cent is widely known among collectors, a deeply dramatic and previously unknown double die example from 1997 would instantly break the market, especially if the doubling was strong and profoundly unique, and if such doubling appeared on the portrait of Lincoln, creating a ghost-like image. The rarity would be even more stunning and the value could climb well into the multi-million range. But the possibilities don't stop there, because planchet errors are another major category that can propel a simple modern penny into elite collecting status, such as coins struck on transitional metals, wrong metal varieties, or experimental compositions that escaped the mint unintentionally. And while 1997 cents were normally struck on copper-plated zinc, a mistake involving a leftover copper planchet from the early 1980s or an experimental alloy accidentally mixed and could produce a coin so unique that only one example exists. And uniqueness is the strongest force in numismatic valuation, often pushing rare anomalies into multi-million-dollar territory, especially when supported by a dramatic, visible error that can be confirmed by scientific testing. And in addition to planchet and die errors, striking anomalies such as broad strikes, where the collar fails and the coin expands outward like a disc, or die caps, where a coin becomes stuck to the die and strikes multiple coins, creating wild layered images and stretched details, can be among the most visually spectacular minting mistakes ever seen. And if the 1997 cent in question were part of a dramatic die cap sequence with distorted features, ghost impressions, and mushroom-like metal flow patterns, it could easily become one of the most famous and valuable modern error coins ever discovered. And adding to the mystery and value, we can also imagine the possibility of a mint employee error or accidental release involving prototype dies, experimental hub designs, or early die states that were never meant to enter circulation, making the coin not only an error but a historical artifact of mint production. And collectors will be drawn to it not only for the visual impact, but for the story behind its creation, and stories, especially mysterious ones, add tremendous value in the numismatic world, often driving prices well beyond what the metal or rarity alone would dictate. And if the hypothetical $23 million 1997 cent combined several layers of rarity, such as a mule pairing, a dramatic double strike, a partial brockage, and a wrong planchet composition, the resulting coin would be so unique that no comparable specimen would exist, making it priceless in the eyes of high-end collectors and auction houses. And this is exactly why stories of ultra-rare pennies capturing headlines and shocking the numismatic community continue to fascinate enthusiasts worldwide, because the U.S. Mint, despite its precision, is still run by machinery and humans. And even the slightest malfunction under the right circumstances can create a once-in-a-generation rarity worth life-changing money. And the 1997 cent in this scenario represents the perfect storm of minting chaos, unusual material, unmatched rarity, and dramatic visual appeal. And when such a coin reaches the open market, Bidding wars erupt among elite collectors who understand that owning a unique error coin means holding a piece of American minting history that may never appear again, driving prices higher and higher until they reach numbers that seem impossible for a small, simple coin. And so the tale of a 1997 1 cent worth $23 million is not just a fantasy, but a reminder of how valuable mint errors can be, how mysterious the world of numismatics remains, and how even the most ordinary coin can hide extraordinary value for those patient, curious, and determined enough to look. And that is why treasure hunters, collectors, and everyday people keep searching their change, hoping to find one exceptional mistake that transforms a common cent into a rare masterpiece capable of rewriting numismatic history. And this thrilling possibility is what makes the hunt so exciting and why coins like this hypothetical multimillion-dollar 1997 cent continue to spark imagination, passion, and fascination across the coin collecting world.